Now let's dig into Clearfield. Before I bring Chris on, just a little recap. He's been on this all year for us. Man, since like the low 50s or something, he was telling us about this, and we caught that huge move to like 120 or something like that. So Chris, let me welcome Chris back to the show. And just a reminder, at StoryTrading, we're not certified financial advisors. I'm not a certified financial advisor. Our guest, Chris, is not a certified financial advisor. I do own stock in Clearfield. And Chris, I understand Clearfield has earnings tomorrow?
Yes, they do. It's been a little bit of a push off from earnings from when they usually do their year end by about a week or 10 days. The company came out and basically said that due to their recent acquisition of Nestle Cables and I guess some audit issues, that the earnings are pushed off a week from normal. May have caused the stock to pull back a bit, but I think it's much to do about nothing. So Ben, here's what I'm looking for in the call tomorrow in the earnings release. Obviously,
is it in the morning, Chris? Tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So a couple of things I'm looking for. Obviously, one of the metrics I like to look at is what percentage of the backlog that they convert into revenue. With their recent, production facility in Mexico ramping up, obviously we're looking for continued efficiencies in that. They've come out publicly and also in the latest Needham analyst report saying that they expect to normalize, their backlog from 6 months down to a quarter. So I think in 2023 you may see a couple quarters where you see that percentage of revenue from backlog tick up. In the last few quarters, it's been around 50 to 55%. I think you could see that jump back up into the 70, 80% range. So you might see a couple quarters where you see some really large revenue boosts. Obviously, I mentioned about the acquisition of Nestle Cables that closed, I believe, in mid-July. So you'll have this quarter with part of Nestle in it. I think they plan to break out some of the Nestle reporting requirements separate from the company. But to see the sort of both entities combined in terms of overall revenue will be good to see. I also want to see any commentary on market share, especially in the tier 1 market. As we've talked about before, Clearfield has a very high penetration in the community broadband in the tier 2, tier 3 markets. They're starting to make inroads in tier 1. Some commentary in the latest Needham report is that they're looking to make inroads in homes connected versus homes passed, which is a significant revenue boost. They claimed it in the homes passed market. They're usually getting about $40 per every home passed, but in the home connection market, that jumps up to $150 to $200. So obviously a good market for them to concentrate their efforts on. Lastly, I want to see some updates on the different large grant programs out there. You got the BEAD program, you got Rural Development Opportunity Fund. Commentary from some of the other players in the space start to say that money's starting to trickle in, but 2023, 2024, I think we'll start to see some large numbers come out in that. And then lastly, they've made some comments about being part of this consortium in Canada called Fiber One, where them and about 4 or 5 other partners are really marketing to the broadband grant money in Canada that's looking around to be around $9 billion to $10 billion. So it'd be great to see some commentary on that. In terms of numbers, again, I think the analysts on the street are sandbagging. They're around 71 million, I think around, mid 85, 86 cents per share. If you look at the history of what Clearfield's done, especially over the last year, they've beat on average the analyst numbers by around 40%. Back in August, I called out that I thought revenue would be in the high 80s and that earnings per share would tick up to about $1.10. I'm going to stay with that, especially after reading their commentary in the Needham report that came out on October 11. So obviously, they've seen the quarter about how strong it's going to be. I don't see any reason to change from that. I just think they're going to post a strong number, and just like to see how the backlog tracks and still seeing if we're seeing that major growth going on.
Yeah, great. Thanks. We've had some explosive moves after earnings this year. I see the RSI relatively low, which has me excited if they get a good number. there is definitely room to be bought. We do have some overhead resistance here at the 50 and the 20 DMA. So what are your thoughts on price? Like, fundamentally, what do you think this stock should be trading at?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. So it's all depending upon the multiple. I sort of looked at the PE trends over the last 3 years for Clearfield. It seems to be in that 30 to 45 range. Look, last year or last quarter, they did 53 cents and 45 million. So if you're looking at year over year comps, I mean, you're looking at a 90, 95, 100%, growth rate in both EPS and revenue. Look, obviously, I don't, think they deserve a software multiple, but historically, when the company has beat earnings, they've had a PE of let's say 35 to 40, which I don't think is unheard of for a stock or for an earnings story that's growing at 100%. So look, I think I called out that I wouldn't be surprised in 2023 if they did $5 in earnings, or a $5 earning run rate at some point. And if you attach a 35 PE to that, you're starting to hit around 150, 160 bucks sometime in 2023.
Okay, cool. And let's see what that current trailing PE is, 33. So, let me just throw in my contribution for this. Something I've noticed on like day one price reactions on earnings is if you take the most recent earnings and then you annualize it and then throw on that existing PE, that very often seems to be a target the price gravitates to on day one. So let's kind of do that exercise together here. You're saying you're expecting about $1 tomorrow?
$1.10.
$1.10. You annualize that takes you to 440. Throw on a 33 multiple on that. Ooh, that takes you over 120 bucks. So I don't know. That might be a little aggressive, but maybe not. I don't know. You think that's in the cards?
Yeah. Well, look, last earnings report, the first week or two after earnings, granted they were added to one of the indexes, but the stock jumped up to 120, 130. Again, I think with these numbers, the analysts are probably going to really have to ratchet up their 2023 numbers, because I think right now they're at around 371, and if a company comes out and is over $1, $1.05, $1.10, the analysts themselves, I think, are going to have to start to push up around 440, 455 bucks. So I don't think it's unheard of. I mean, I think the company's done a good job of stepping up expectations, and I see no reason why that won't continue.
Yeah, definitely possible. It seems like seems just looking at this chart, it's like, wow, that would be crazy, so much volatility. But I mean, this has been a crazy chart all year, so I guess it's possible we see another sharp move to close to the high. So looking forward to that, Chris. I hope it turns out that way. Hope we get that close to $1.10 tomorrow, and we get a nice move, hopefully over $100 bucks. That'll be great.
Yeah, so let's hopefully let's regroup Friday morning, and we can go through hopefully all the things that we talked about today, and we'll get some more color on their opportunities.
Awesome, sounds great, Chris. Looking forward to that update Friday.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, take care.